Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's broadcast of Fast Fridays here on Maconi Entertainment. My name is Ian Fisher, and I'm thrilled to be joined tonight in the booth by Joey Attenbury and Ryan Bauer, working the controls as our producer this evening. Camera angle signer, of course, provided by Dougie Beard. Tonight's action comes to you from the historic Tsukuba circuit, and it's the return of Fast Fridays, presented again by Maconi Setup Shop. And for those of you who may have missed last week at Phoenix Raceway, we saw an abundance of cautions, Joey, a very broken race pace, but a race win for David Shutt at least. And like I said, that was a hard race for a lot of our drivers last week. A lot of cautions, a lot of re-racking the field, a lot of side-by-side racing because of all those restarts, but a whole different animal tonight at Tsukuba Circuit. We're not going to have any yellow flags except for, of course, local yellow flags, and one halfway caution at the 18-minute mark tonight. So a very different dynamic for our race car drivers here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the Tsukuba Circuit, Joey?
Yeah, well, we're here with Fast Fridays on our first road course coming at you. Tsukuba Circuit, it does measure 1.27 miles in length. And track was actually first established back in 1966, so this place has been around for quite some time. It is not a new racetrack. I remember when I was growing up really in import car culture, this was a very big racetrack to kind of bring your car to and test out what the lap times were. The track does have a large variety of corners, ranging from wide sweepers to tight hairpins. If I was to give it a comparison to something here in North America, I'd probably compare it to maybe a Lime Rock Park. These lap times are pretty quick, just under a minute in length, and pretty excited to see the racing here tonight, Ian.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with your assessment of Lime Rock Park. It's the first thing that comes to my mind, especially that long straightaway into the sleeping right-hand turn before the start-finish line here at the Tsukuba Circuit. And a little bit different for these drivers this evening as well. We're here, of course, in the NASCAR Next Gen car, and really there's no precedent for the NASCAR Next Gen here at Tsukuba, so it's going to be interesting. You really haven't practiced this at all in any official races on iRacing, or even I haven't seen many sessions besides this one where you see this racetrack here. But remember, that competition caution is going to come at 18 minutes, Joey. You do get one fast and repair here, and it's a custom setup by Maconi Setup Shop, of course. So you do have a little bit of wiggle room for error with that one fast repair, but really it's going to be a war of attrition here tonight. And I think the driver that keeps all four wheels on the racetrack for the most amount of time probably has a good chance of coming home with the win tonight.
Right, you are, Ian. I think if you can keep all four wheels on the racetrack, that's going to give you your best track position. Stay out of any scrum if you're in the middle of the pack. This racetrack is very, very small, and is a pretty big race car that we're putting on it. So you got to mind your box out there, and don't get into the other people's boxes, and hopefully keep it all pointed straight in the right direction, and keep doing laps out there. As it looks like we got a nice view of Jeff right now as they're out there in qualifying, it looks like.
Yeah, qualifying going on right now. Jeff Maconi trying to lay down a lap, as you see, as we ride on board with him going into the first corner here. And we kind of talked about it, the long sweeping turns into the tight hairpins. You get two tight hairpins right back to back here, and then the track kind of opens up again before another hairpin section. But so far, Daniel Mosteller is on your pole position with a 56.9, so that right now is going to be your pole position. But Maconi doing what he can here, and you mentioned it, short lap times around this track, Joey, and this race is, it's a 40-minute race, but these laps are going to go by for these drivers faster than you think.
You're right. You compare these lap times maybe to a Pocono. We're seeing 56 seconds right now, 56.9, 56.99 for the top two spots. So you're right. I think it'll be easy to get swallowed up if you're not careful at the beginning. We do have that competition caution, so you can get saved if you're a little bit off pace, but if you have a big accident, you're going to be put in pretty big trouble early on.
On board with the 5 machine now, Brandon Panetto, and I've got a Mets fan in the house tonight, Joey, and they play the Padres later on tonight, so you see Brandon Panetto there sporting his Mets gear with the Angry Birds machine there. That's a pretty good looking livery, if I do say so myself.
I do like it, and Angry Birds is pretty fitting for a racetrack like this. I might have to get those hips out and knock a couple people out of the way.
So far, looks like 8 drivers have put down a qualifying time. You see there on your screen that Brandon Panetto finds himself in the 3rd position to start this race, at least right now. Looks like we've got 8 cars here in the total session. And now just to kind of go over the format a little bit for anybody that wasn't here last week, Joey, we will take a maximum of 62 entrants. And then, of course, they get now down to qualifying to 30 people. That will make the show off of just the qualifying itself. Now, we don't have to worry about that tonight with the amount of drivers that we have here. We'll go right into our feature race. But if we needed to, we would have a consolation race. We won't have that tonight here. So we're going to go straight to our feature race tonight from Tsukuba. So again, should be an interesting challenge for these drivers, and I'm kind of excited, Joey. Like I said, this is not a track car combination that I've seen a lot of really anywhere in the iRacing service, and I'm excited to see what these guys are going to do out here on the racetrack tonight.
Yeah, touching on that format, I know that last week we had so many entries there and a ton of people show up, and we were just working out the heats and everything. And here at Tsukuba, being the first road course, looks like we got, am I seeing this right? About 22 cars out there. So a nice, healthy field of big American stock cars on this very little Japanese racetrack.
Yeah, I believe about 22 entries, and I think 8 were the only ones to lay down a time. Of course, unfortunately, myself is in this session right now due to a little bit of mistake of joining the session. So I think one less driver you can count on the docket there tonight. So apologies for anybody out there that might be confused about me being in the session. That's a classic commentator's mistake here, and hopefully you've never done that one, Joey. But I fell victim to that here tonight.
You know, if I clicked that button and I said register, I would say, hey guys, you know what? You're on your own tonight. I'm joining this race. Tough luck.
Well, I couldn't do that to Jeff Maconi here, and we're just got a bit of a warm-up session here before we go into our race session, and I think that's very good here for giving our drivers a little bit of extra practice time as well. You and I were kind of watching during the initial practice session. This is not an easy race course to race on, especially with this car as well. You kind of mentioned it, very large car for how narrow this Tsukuba circuit is, and side-by-side racing isn't really something we're going to see here a lot of. You're going to be very deliberate with those passing zones here tonight, Joey.
Definitely, and I am seeing a few more cars trickle out there than what we had in qualifying, and it goes directly to your point, Ian. It is a very tricky racetrack, and it's easy to get a 1X and dip in a wheel off the track, and yeah, these are very, very large race cars, and even though you can go 3 wide in places here, there's sections in these S's and hairpins that it gets very, very narrow, that it's probably only single file at most. You got to keep it on all 4 wheels on the pavement, and easy to misstep in such a large car here at Tsukuba.
On this great overhead shot we have right now, you can see how narrow this track is, and just how tight some of those hairpin turns are. The one that really comes to mind is that final hairpin before the long stretch into the right-hand sweeper right before the start-finish line. I think that's going to be definitely a place to watch all night long, Joey. I think people are going to be trying to make moves there. And not only that, your drive off of that corner is so important to set you up for that right-hand sweeper before coming back to the start-finish line.
You're right. You're talking about turn 8 down there, and Tsukuba features 3 different hairpins. Turn 1 as we start our lap, turn 4 and turn 8. I think that all 3 of those hairpins are very good passing opportunities, and sometimes your eyes might be a little bit bigger than what the spot can be, especially down there at turn 4. Turn 8, you at least have a little bit of a run coming up to it, so you can kind of maybe place your car where you need to, but turn 4 is a very tricky spot coming out of a narrow set of S's, and I think it might be a little bit of a hazard area tonight.
Absolutely, for sure. And I do just remind everybody who's watching, this is Effect Setup, brought to you by Maconi Setup Shop, MaconiSetupShop.com. Of course, Fast Fridays every week brought to you by Maconi Setup Shop. While you're there, be sure to check out Maconi Competizioni, and then also Maconi Entertainment. As you see, we're bringing you the shots here this evening. If you're interested in getting your race broadcast on Maconi Entertainment, be sure to check out MaconiSetupShop.com, and then the contact us form from there as well. So we'll get close to a grid here once we get started on actually, like, when these drivers get on the grid itself, Joey. Again, this warm-up session here as well, and there we go. We kind of mentioned it, that little pass right there that you saw in our kind of establishing shot there by the 18 car. That's probably what you're going to see here the most of the night.
Definitely just kind of have to force your way down to the inside, and once you get down to the inside, these hairpins are long enough. You have the extra grip, the shorter radius, and take advantage of that track position and power on out.
And stock car is not known for braking necessarily, Joey, but these next gen cars, of course, they have the larger wheel and the larger brake rotor as well. So a little bit more stopping power than you're used to with a stock car, but these still don't slow down very well. So especially going into this hairpin as well, I think you see one car get into the wall there. I think that's where you'll see a lot of your mistakes made is into that the second hairpin. I'm not entirely sure what turn that is. Joey, you seem to be the turn wizard tonight, know all the turns. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that part of the section of the track as well.
Yeah, the turn wizard, call me.
Yeah.
Yeah, turn 4 is a very tricky section, and really it's all rhythm through there. Like I said, I think it's going to be a hazard area, and I know that this warm-up here is just ending out, and these cars will be taking the grid here in just a minute. I'm really excited to put all these cars on the grid and see what this action is going to be. It looks kind of like a golden hour out there right now, huh?
Yeah, we saw a little bit of the weather conditions earlier during our warm up, and it's a great day for racing. And you mentioned it, definitely going into a golden hour now as we watch across the start finish line here at the Tsukuba circuit. We'll get the grid up here in just a second. Here, drivers still got to take to the actual circuit itself before we could fully get going. And what are your expectations for the route? Well, actually, we'll get to your expectations in just a second, Joey, because I want to say right now that Daniel Mosteller is in the pole position. He's in the 87 car. Joining on the outside of the first road is going to be Aaron Raymond in the 18 machine. We saw him a little bit in the warm-up there, and he was making some passes on the racetrack, so definitely one to watch as well. Brandon Ponetto in the 5 machine. You know he loves the Mets, so he's looking to have a good race tonight, just like the Mets are going to have a good showing against the Padres later on tonight. Jeffrey Maconi, of course, our owner and fearless leader, will roll off in the 4th position on the outside of row number 2. Keith Fonseca in the 20 machine 5th. Mike Peters in the 95 will roll off in P number 6. Going back to the grid, Brent Bakari in the 35 and Eric Lombard in the 88. David Tremblay in the 96 and Jeremiah Forbes in the 15 will round out your top 10, Joey.
Yeah, definitely. These cars are already rounding turn 9, coming to the green flag here to start Fast Friday at Tsukuba International Raceway. I'm sorry, Tsukuba Circuit. And the 18 gets a great jump. Going to take the line into turn 1, too wide behind him. The 03 and the 18 there. I'm sorry,
the
5.
trouble in the back there, Joey.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, a few cars getting into it there, and also a few more cars coming off the corner, just not getting the greatest jump there. It looks like the 5 machine wasn't able to get a good launch off the corner and is going to try to fight there down to the bottom. He's going to get pushed wide by another car there, and you kind of mentioned it, just calamity going into the first hairpin. Looks like Raymond's, another truck car, another car off there to the outside. And especially these early laps, Joey, where everybody's just fighting for position. I think we're going to see that, a little bit of beating and banging and people trying to figure out where they're at on this racetrack.
We talked about it pre-race. These are very big cars, and we're already seeing how narrow this racetrack can be as the front tries to sort itself out. Single file a little bit further back here as we see the 59 dive into turn 9. It's a pretty tight scrum back here, and it really looks like that's a battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. That just count them out one after another here, but it looks like the 18 of Aaron Raymond out front right now.
Yeah, and we're on board right now with the 87 car. Daniel Mosteller trying to chase down Raymond right now. Jeff Maconi in the 03 machine round out your top 3 right now. You can see Maconi coming through the hairpin now, and you see these 3 leaders. And yeah, really just a great job by Raymond. You mentioned it off of the jump there, Joey, getting a really great start. Able to avoid a little bit of the trouble he had farther back in the pack, and really that worked worse than it was. You go on board with Jeffrey Maconi now into this final hairpin here before the right-hand sweeper, and a lot more trouble that we saw off the start there, but actually all these drivers doing a great job to stay on the track so far.
You know, I actually think that it was pretty clean given how tight Tsukuba can get. I've done plenty of races here, and you know, from these camera views, it makes it look pretty wide, but let me tell you, it is very narrow going through those turn 2, turn 3 S's. And here we got Jeff Maconi go for a ride, a lap around as we go through turn 1 here, this nice tight hairpin. This is where it kind of gets congested here, going through those S's of turn 2, turn 3 into this hairpin here of turn 4 as we watch the 87 machine really have to slow this car down. And then here you kind of wind it back up through the gears, through turn 5, 6, and then you come up to this final hairpin here, turn 8. Get all the way back down on those brakes again. Really slow it all the way down. Look at how slow these cars have to get through the corner. Concentrate on getting the throttle down onto the back straightaway. Once again, up through the gears to set up for the final turn, which is actually a sweeping turn, the fastest turn on the racetrack. And there you got it, a lap around Tsukuba Circuit.
And I love that final turn, Joey, especially as a driver. Just so much fun feathering the throttle, coming back to the start-finish line. And then you mentioned it here, this first turn right now is, our leader, Aaron Raymond, spins there. The 87 able to sneak by. Same with the 03 of Maconi. Only going to lose a couple of spots there, but early problems there for our leader.
Yeah, I saw a couple laps ago that he was really pushing some brake zones, having a little bit of lockup here and there, and I think he just lost the rear end going into turn 1. I know that if you apply a little bit too much rear brake pressure and turn in at the same time, these cars can get pretty unstable if you're in too deep, and looks like that's exactly what happened. He was able to keep it off of the wall and lost a couple places, but keeps on going in 3rd place.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of that as well is maybe just downshifted a little bit too fast there, Joey, and you see wheel hop a little bit is always an issue here when you're driving stock cars, especially on road courses, and I think maybe something we saw there right now. We fall on board here with the 95 of Mike Peters, about 6 seconds behind the lead right now, and just trying to do what he can to kind of file in with the rest of the pack here. You see him get a little bit loose there off the final corner heading into turn 1, and it's going to be one of these places all night long, Joey, where we see things happen is into turn 1. You get such a run coming off of that final corner down in the turn 1. You mentioned Lime Rock. Another one of those turns that are very similar to turn 1 Lime Rock, kind of not the double apex turn, but that sort of tightening radius there as you see the 95 get loose as well.
I agree, and one thing that we are going to see tonight is frustration set in, just like Lime Rock Park. These guys are starting to get in the rhythm, and when you get into the rhythm, you just kind of fall into place, and you get frustrated. How do I get around this guy in front of me? And that's when bumpers come out and elbows come out. And if I'm on the racetrack right now, I got a competition caution coming here at about 18 minutes or so into this race. Just trying to figure out what rhythm everyone else is running, so maybe I can throw a curveball to him later.
Exactly. Try to get yourself on a differing pace, and really that's something that you need to do, especially if you find yourself someone other than our leaders right now, because you want to try to put yourself in a position where if something does happen, you can take advantage of a mistake by the leaders or perhaps something else that happens farther along in the race session. And yeah, no cautions here tonight except for our halfway caution, so you got to know it's a long green flag run until then. It's a different mindset you have, say, as opposed to Phoenix, where we kept re-racking and going back to caution and restarting and stuff like that. Here, if you're a driver that kind of thrives on that long green flag run, you can do that here a little bit, Joey.
Definitely, it's all about the rhythm here with road course racing, because you've got those long green flag runs. So, like you said, you can't re-rack if you've made that mistake. Even the smallest mistake can set you so far back in track position that it can just be so frustrating to the driver that he feels like he's got no hope out there. So hitting every single mark, every single brake marker in every single lap counts here at road racing.
Not only in road racing, but really all of these tracks that we're going to go to here on Fast Fridays. We do have a couple of dates coming up here. Next week, of course, we go to USA Speedway and then Lime Rock Park, another racetrack we mentioned similar to this. It's on the 21st of October. You sit on board here now with Aaron Raymond. Remember, he was leading this race earlier, Joey, and then had a little bit of trouble. Finds himself back in the 3rd position, doing a great job right now of chasing down the 03 machine of Jeff Maconi. And maybe Maconi there trying to cool down the tires 24 hours of Spa style there, Joey? What was going on there?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I couldn't agree with you more there, Ian. I think that he might be a little bit distracted there inside the cockpit of that 03 machine, but we'll see if he gets his eyes focused forward, because he's got a mirror full of the 18 right now. The 18 comes up and says, I want that 2nd position.
Yeah, and Aaron Raymond has been very fast so far in this race. He hasn't ran the fastest lap. That belongs to your leader right now, the 87 machine of Daniel Stellar, but he ran a 56.6 to Daniel's 56.4, so still very fast for the 18 machine of Aaron Raymond. Just right now trying to find a way around Jeff Maconi to try to battle back and try to reel in the leader right now. And That starts with this battle that we have right now. This is the best battle on your racetrack, Joey. And how hard is it as you're a driver following, especially here at a road course, to try to stay patient, don't overdrive your car because you know you're faster than the car in front of you right now?
What I'm watching and seeing is the 18 is definitely more confident going into the corner than the 03, and that gives him such an accordion effect that actually the 03 is getting a far better launch out of it. I think if the 18 just stays a little bit patient, I always like, just take a deep breath back there. He's going to come to you and just hit your marks, and as long as you don't overdrive your car, meaning the 18, he'll be able to sneak up right underneath. As we see, he takes a great look down the inside there at turn 4, and it puts him in great position to, once again, take a look down the inside of turn 8, the next passing opportunity.
Really got to hand it to Aaron Raymond there. That was about as close as you could probably get without making contact right there, and just all over the back bumper of Maconi right now and not touching him. That's the really impressive thing here, Joey, is he could easily just move him up the racetrack a little bit and be done with this pass, but Aaron Raymond, at least for right now, showing some patience and doesn't want to slow himself down too much with this pass as well, because he's got 2 cars breathing down his neck still.
Yeah, it looks like the 42 and the 5 are right there in case there's just any sort of misstep for this battle. Looks like the 18 is going to show his nose down into turn 1, gets track position, and will execute that pass, overtakes second place of Jeff Maconi.
It's a move for the second place of the 03 machine of Jeff Maconi, so Maconi will fall back into that third podium spot where he was at before, but now finds himself under fire from the 15 of Jeremiah Forbes. He's the 42 on your screen, but he's the 15 on your timing tower. And along with Jeremiah Forbes, you have Brandon Ponetto rounding out your top 5 right now. So the Bass Pro machine trying to chase down that Maconi Setup Shop. And you see right there, the 03 of Maconi kind of locks it up into that final turn 9 hairpin. And that's so easy to do here, especially with these large brakes that these next-gen cars have, Joey. It's so easy to lock up those brakes, and something you're going to have to avoid doing all night long, because that's just going to eat up your tires.
I know that Jeff has a ton of experience with these cars. He's got a ton of experience in practice laps, as it looks like the 15 is going to take his nose down to the inside of Maconi once again, and he will snatch away that 3rd place from Jeff. I think that Jeff just isn't as confident on the brakes going into the corners as some of these other guys. It looks like the 18 has another big lockup up there. These guys are just pushing it so much harder than the 03 going into the corner, and it's definitely paying dividends, but it can also bite you real quick.
Yeah, big lock up there. You saw that time from Aaron Raymond, but still able to stay in front of the 15 or the 42 on your screen of Jeremiah Forbes. Jeff Maconi finds himself now in the 4th position with Brandon Ponetto rounding out your top 5. You get a look at 2nd through 4th there, but our leader, Daniel Moster, still just opening up a huge 4-second advantage. I say huge 4-second advantage. That is quite significant here on road courses, but still, one mistake in any of these drivers you see second on back are right back in it, Joey.
I think that we are watching the best battle between the 18, like you said, the 42 on screen, 15 on timing and scoring, the 03 and the 5. These 4 cars right here are really all battling for second place, as we've seen the 18 have another problem going into turn 4. That's the 2nd time he has lost it on the brakes going into a hairpin, and this time it's going to cost him 3 positions.
And really, that's just been the thorn in the side for the 18 camp all night long, as they've been a fast car, and we'll see what happened here. Just another lockup situation, a little bit too much brake to the rear tire. The 18 just goes around, and that's been the story of his night so far. Is he's been fast, Joey. He just hasn't been able to stay consistent. And we mentioned that in the top of our broadcast at our race analysis. If you could keep all 4 tires on the track for a majority of this race, you got a really good shot at winning it.
Yeah, well, not only are those mistakes hurting him in track position, but it's also giving him tire temperature, tire wear, stuff that's going to make his car in his day even more frustrating than it already is after he's spun twice now. Now, the 18 just needs to get some good advice on the radio, say, hey, the competition caution is coming. You're not out of this yet, as it looks like we're on board with the 87, our current leader, as he just continues to hit his marks here into turn 8. Look at this nice braking zone right down to the apex, clip the curb, focus on the power down. Little bit of wheel spin loose there, but gets it pointed nice and straight. And man, these cars are fast down that back straightaway.
Yeah, you get so much speed going down this back straightaway into the sweeping turn right there. You see how aggressive there that Mosteller attacked that, and it's so easy to overdrive that corner. It's very deceptive, Joey. You You come down into it, it looks like you're able to hit it really, really hard, but you do definitely have to slow down a little bit for that corner. Again, Mosteller has about now an 8-second lead to any cars behind him, and that's the 0-2 of Jeffrey Maconi, who is under chase right now from the 5 of Brandon Ponetta. He's right on board with him now, and you see a look into his sim cockpit and just the focus that it takes to wheel one of these cars here around Tsukuba Circuit, Joey.
Yeah, it looks like we had another shakeup as we are on board with Brian Ponetta. The 5 doing a great job out there tonight. He is one of the cars that has kept it all 4 wheels on the racetrack, and he's behind that 03 of Jeffrey Maconi, kind of with the same strategy. But look at this, has put him in the podium position, and we'll see what they can do once that competition caution comes out and everybody gets re-racked.
Yeah, and it looks like an issue for the 15 of Jeremiah Forbes as well. He's now fallen 1 lap down. I think he's on pit road. You have had 4 drivers retire from the race so far. That's Trumbley, Souza, Lombard, and Lothian. I will say for the 59 of Blake Lothian, caught up in some early incidents, but I do know he has a race later on this evening. So maybe that's what he's going and getting prepared for right now. You look at the 5 machine, though, of Brandon Ponetto. Again, just trying to slowly chase down Maconi if he can. Take a look on board here for the 15 of Jeremiah Forbes. Of course, the 42 on your screen. See what happened here, and I think maybe that's what we talked about. We'll see what happens here coming through the last horn. I thought maybe he overcooked it there.
Yeah, you know, I didn't catch it on the screen. All I did is I caught it that the car was on pit road there after a bunch of shakeup there inside the top 5 is really what we were watching. But ooh, looks like a little bit of a brake issue there going into turn 4, and that was heavy impact, Jimmy Johnson style into the wall.
Yeah, we'll call that a brake failure. That's what we'll call that, Joey, for sure. Yeah, but that'll definitely end your night, just going headlong into the wall like that. Obviously, on iRacing, you don't have to worry about any real life consequences of things like that. So I guess maybe an early end of the 15th night there.
Take him to the blue tent. Take him to the blue tent. You know, checked out.
Exactly. Go to the infield care center. But back to live racing action here. The 5 still trying to chase down the 03 of Jeffrey Maconi. This is the best battle on your racetrack so far. Again, you got 7 cars on the lead lap right now, 7 cars on the racetrack as well. So again, the war of attrition thing we keep talking about, Joey, continues to be prevalent. Still a few minutes away from this competition caution here, so really just settling in and running your race if you're any of these drivers.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with our leader right now. I know we've been focused on the 03 and the 5 because that is our closest battle on the racetrack, but our leader continues to pound away consistent laps, 57 2s, 57 1s, 57 0s. Mind you, he qualified at a 56.9, so everything that he is laying down right now is at qualifying pace, and he's stretched that lead over our 2nd and 3rd place cars up to 11 seconds plus right now. As, we're following the 5 in 3rd place, Brandon Ponetto still. You know, I do love seeing a blue car out there. You don't see very many light blue cars, and look at how much it grabs the screen. We did mention that Angry Birds earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I do like it. It's a very good scheme, I will say. I mean, I am somewhat biased to Maconi here, but that's a good scheme as well. I do like the black with the rainbow livery, the pride livery. That's a good one. But yeah, that Angry Bird scheme, it really is kind of top of the field right now, at least as far as paint schemes go. It finds himself in 3rd position on the racetrack right now. And you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Joey, just the lap times that Mosteller has been able to lay down here tonight. And yeah, it is very surprising just to see the limited amount of tire fall off that we've had so far. Really just a great job of not only running fast laps, but just managing the tires.
Definitely. He's had a great race out front. He's managing the lead, and he hasn't stepped a foot wrong right now, and I think he will be the car to beat tonight. So it looks like we're on board with the 95 of Mike Peters here. Got a cluster of 3 cars as they go through the S's here and dive down into turn 4. A little bit of lockup from, looks like the 18 right now. I think he's got some pretty square tires on the front after the adventures he's had today.
Oh, well, this whole group right now looks like they're in Formula Drift. The 16, the 95, and the 18 here, they're all just sliding around this racetrack. Of course, I don't really think we're going to be seeing anybody pitting for tires here on our competition caution. I mean, you might see it, but These guys right now, you kind of mentioned it, kind of used up their tires. You see the 18 there, Aaron Raymond. He led this race early on and has just kind of consistently fallen back after you mentioned it, just a few spins, cooking the tires. And you see how important, especially on these next gen cars with the wire tire patch, how important saving your tires are for a long run.
I'm going to go ahead and put on my race manager role here, kind of give a little bit of insight to some strategy. You said, yeah, probably not going to dip down for some tires, but I know that these tires don't take very long to put on these cars. We're probably looking at, what, a 10 or 15 second stop? We're not in danger of going a lap down, so as long as you're packed up, I don't see the negative of coming and taking tires at our competition caution, given that we know we're going to see such a long green flag run afterwards, especially if I'm a car like the 18 that is just kind of roasted the fronts or maybe just even needs a mental reset.
And I went and checked as well. I just wanted to make sure I was correct before talking. And one of the reasons I said you might see somebody sneak down pit road is I didn't know if they were going to let him pit during the competition caution. That was for one. And then I was also checking my notes to see if they had any extra tire sets. That was two. So they do have unlimited tire sets. So you're right. You could come down and make that play if you wanted to. You mentioned you're not going to go a lap down. It's not like a sports car or another car on the iRacing surface where it takes, upwards of a minute to change the tires. Very fast pit stops here, obviously, on the next-gen cars. You mentioned it, Joey. So some strategies we could see here in a few minutes for some of the drivers. Oh, a little bit of a bump there from the 95 to the 16. I don't know if that was intentional, but I think that was a little bit of an over-driving there. But we're going to see that all night long in the hairpins.
Yeah, it looks like we do have caution on the racetrack. Our competition caution has flown. The field will get collected by the safety car, starting with that 87 of Daniel Mosteler out front right now. And we're going to re-rack them and see what the action brings.
And we are going to take a quick break here while they go to caution here from Tsukuba Circuit. But stick around. We'll have the final 18 minutes here from Fast Fridays presented by Maconi Setup Shop when we come back here on Maconi Entertainment.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flag Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Maconi Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Maconi Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to MaconiSetupShop.com and learn why Maconi Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
And we're back here from the virtual Tsukuba circuit. Again, it's Fast Fridays presented by Maconi Setup Shop here on Maconi Entertainment. And Joey, it's been kind of what we expected here throughout the first 18 minutes here of our race action. Of course, our competition caution here to bunch up the field again, and we'll go back racing for roughly another 18 minutes here before we get our checkered flag here from Tsukuba. But so far, what we kind of expected. Anything stand out to you in the first 18 minutes?
A war of attrition. That is what we expected, and that is what we are seeing. It looks like the 18 right now is going to dive down to pit road and bring what looks like everybody behind him with him. And yeah, getting back to the race, it's exactly what we talked about pre-race. You got to make sure you keep all 4 rubber patches on the pavement, and that's what the 3 leaders have done so far.
3 leaders have done that so far. A bit of an interesting strategy there for our 2 leaders, Maconi and Mosteller, staying out. I wonder if they'll come by this time around now they saw the rest of the field come in and get some tires there. You see the 18 on your screen right now. It looks like the 20 and the 95 and the 35 also followed him to pit road as well. You mentioned it, Joey. Now these drivers are going to lose a lap by pitting right now, and if you're Maconi and Mosteller at the front of your field here, I would assume that you're kind of sitting ducks, but maybe you've done a good enough job of saving those Goodyear tires. that you can make it all the way at the end here and still be faster than the guys behind you.
Yeah, that's really up to the driver, as it looks like the pace car lights are out, so they are not going to have that opportunity to come down and take that fresh rubber, it looks like. But it really is up to the driver. Was he confident on that set of tires? How bad was the fall off? We were noticing our leader in the 87 car had very minimal fall off in terms of lap time. That doesn't necessarily equate to how the car drives, but certainly seems like the pace is still there.
Well, and you mentioned it as well, driver comfort is such a big deal, especially in road course racing. It's not as formulaic as maybe you see on oval racing or some other kind of disciplines here on the iRacing service. It really is a feel thing here with road racing, and something you do interject into the situation when you take the fresh tires. They're going to be cold for the first couple of laps, so maybe changes your braking point a little bit, and it possibly changes the way that you drive into some of these corners. So it could be a detriment to these drivers as well.
It can be, as the 87 is going to lead them with that aggressive pace car turn onto pit road. We're going to be going back to green here at Fast Fridays at Tsukuba Circuit.
87 has the field here, and Barney the Flagman has the green flag out in the air for the virtual Tsukuba Circuit. Here we go back to racing. A great start again for Daniel Masteller in the 87. Jeffrey Maconi will try to chase him through the first hairpin, and you see Aaron Raymond there to the inside of Brandon Ponetto. They're battling. You got one car off behind there. Looks like a single car spin. Remember, no caution flags except for our mandatory competition caution. We just went green flag racing back from, so no cautions did come out for that. I believe that was the 95 of Mike Peters spinning around in the back there. And now a battle between the 5 of Ponetto and the 16 on the racetrack, 20 on the timing screen of Keith Fonseca. A driver he haven't talked about much, but he did come down and get tires that last time around. He may have an advantage on our leaders here, Joey.
Yeah, I think that the 18 is looking like he's in a pretty good spot right now. He made an aggressive move down into turn 1 on our restart as he starts to hound the 03 of Jeffrey Maconi for this second place position. Looks like Maconi gets a pretty good exit there out of turn 9. He's going to have to wait for a couple more hairpins to present themselves to maybe get another passing opportunity. That 18, though, does have fresh tires. I think the confidence is riding high inside that car.
It's been a bit of a double-edged sword, hasn't it, for Aaron Raymond? I mean, he's been so fast all night long. We've kind of mentioned it before there, as you see a lockup in the 03 and Maconi go off track there. He's going to lose a couple of spots, at least one, possibly even two here now. But we mentioned for Aaron Raymond, it's been kind of a double-edged sword of confidence. He's been really fast, just hasn't been able to stay on the racetrack there. But this time it was the 03 Maconi going off track, Joey.
You're right. The 18 has had its share of adventures earlier, but it was the 03 this time that's having a little bit of slip and slide going on, as it looks like he's having more problems getting the throttle down coming out of turn 8. You know, one thing that he did before the caution was keep all 4 wheels on the pavement. Here in the second half of the race, he's struggling with it a little bit, but thankfully that mistake didn't cost him too much. He's still in the hunt, finds himself right behind that number 5 car of Ponetta, and see if he can get his head down and focused forward.
Yeah, that's going to give your last podium possession to Brandon Ponetto, the mistake by Maconi here. And you're right on board with the 20 of Keith Fonseca. Still some lockup issues there for the 03. And now you see the 18 as well, a big lockup. He's going to lose the spot to Brandon Ponetto. So now the 18th will fall into the third and final podium position with Jeff Maconi hot on his heels. Again, Daniel Masteller, your leader, just putting on a clinic so far here for the virtual Tsukuba Speedway. I'm sorry, the virtual Tsukuba Circuit. As you see the 18 there kind of lock up, get wide again. Really just all night long able to drive out away from the field. Yeah, Fonseca in the 20 there, off in the background there. But again, Masteller just doing an excellent job here. Really just putting on a clinic, like I said, Joey, here at Tsukuba.
Yeah, hats off to Masteller out front right now. The 18 just needs to cool down a little bit. He's proven that he's been a very fast car tonight, but he's just been a little bit too aggressive in some of these brake zones, as it looks like he's crawling up all over the back bumper of the number 5 car right now for this second place. The number 5 has a little bit of lockup and washes wide. That's going to open the door for the 18 as these two cars go side by side for a minute. The 5 says, you know what? I'm going to tuck in single file. I need to keep this thing on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. As we see a big wiggle out of the 18 as we head into the hairpin here. And you're right, Ponetto and the 18 could have went side by side there, but definitely not a section of this racetrack that you want to go side by side. So a wide was moved there by the 5 machine. The Brandon Ponetto back off. And really, it almost worked out for him there. The 18 almost wiped out in the very next corner, Joey.
Yeah, I know that the 5 has kind of been in the thick of things since the green flag dropped again on this restart, as it looks like he still has a mirror full of a drifting 03 of Jeffrey Maconi out there trying to keep those rear tires alive. But if I remember right, both the 5 and the 03 did not come in for the fresh tires like the 18 did. So a little bit more of a fair-paced race between these two cars, between the 5 and the 03.
You continue to see the lockup issues that the 03 and Maconi is having. And then something else I noticed as well, Joey, when he's going through the hairpins, it doesn't seem like he's getting any front grip as well. Like, as we watch it, as he goes into this hairpin here, you'll start to see the front end of the car. It does a good job of rotating it there, but you'll see a lot of these hairpins. That 03 machine is starting to push in the corners as well. And when you have no grip, it's just hard to find yourself anywhere on this racetrack. And continuing to lose spots now and continuing to lose time to the 18 and the 5. And really, I'm interested to see if the 18 can put together a long enough run without any mistakes to do anything to catch down Daniel Esteller right now. Coming to about 11 and a half minutes left in our race, Joey. It is getting down the crunch time. Still a lot of time left, but you do have to make your move now if you're going to make it.
It is getting down to crunch time. There's going to be about maybe 8 or 9, I guess about 10 laps left or so. And we still continue to see those lockup issues from the 5 and the 03. If I can best explain what's going on, is that these are really big and heavy cars. And these are really, really tight, sharp, slow turns. And when you get in just a little bit too deep, what's the driver's natural reaction? I got to slow it down more. Well, that means a little bit more brake pressure. Well, if you're already at the limit, there's the lockup. Now you're going too fast, Ian. You talked about that understeer. I got to get the car turned. Well, it's already locked up. Now I'm going to tell it to turn. It's going to say, no thanks. So once again, you just got to back up those markers, calm it down a little bit, and you can do a reset, but it's so easy when that carrot is just dangling right out in front of you like this number 5 car is. He's just right there, just a little bit further, when in reality, you just got to take a step back.
Jeff Maconi there with a big wiggle and maybe does a really good job there to avoid contact with the 5 car. Sitting in 4th position right now. Again, Esteller, Raymond, Paunetto, your top 3, Maconi, Pancari, and Fonseca. The rest of your cars on your racetrack right now. Peters, Forbes, Trumley, Souza, Lombard, Lothian all have retired so far from this tough test here at the Tsukuba circuit. And these next-gen cars presented by Maconi Setup Shop. Again, it's Fast Fridays, and so far just doing a good job of Jeff Maconi there. I will say he's doing a good job of at least hanging in there. You see how difficult it is for that 03 machine to drive right now.
Track again. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Ian, but that was our second place runner of Aaron Raymond through turn 9. Just looks like he got wide there, and this is his biggest mistake of the night, as it's going to set him so far back in track position.
No, and you took the words right out of my mouth as well. I saw it happening. I just couldn't react fast enough, so we'll see what happens here. He goes into that last hairpin turn. I think it's just just drives in a little bit too hard there, Joey.
Yeah, you saw a little bit of lockup right before he exited track left, and unfortunately that is a very fast section of the racetrack, and cars are going to be going by you at a high rate of speed. That's a big track position loss for the 18. His night is not over, but it's going to be a tough dig out of that hole.
And not only that, but when he was trying to rejoin the racetrack, had a few cars there that were still going by him, so had the yield to Pancari as well. So going to leave us another spot, unfortunately. That's going to put Aaron Raymond all the way down in our running order. This is the battle between Brandon Paunetto and Jeffrey Maconi. You get the double side-by-side cockpit view for both of them, and Maconi going to take a dive to the inside here. We'll see if he can make the 03 machine stick. He does a good job there getting the roll of the center corner, but just not enough drive off right now. Not enough rear grip to get the drive to really catch the 5 right now, Joey.
I love these shots that our producer Ryan Bauer is giving us, the bearded sim racer, as we're watching Paunetto and Maconi battle for this second place position. Well, look at all of that flex going on Maconi's rig. Look at the pressure that Paunetto's facing right now. He's constantly looking at his relative, checking to see where the 03 is, moving around in his seat as the 03 gets underneath the 5. This is going to be a drag race down the back straightaway. I know the 5 is not going to yield this position on the outside.
Oh, and he just tries to overdrive it a little bit into the corner there. Maconi, you see the fist bump out of the 03 machine out of Jeff Maconi there. he's pumped about getting that position back from the 5, and he should be. That's for second place right now. I think with these two guys battling and how much time we have left, Joey, I don't think it's going to be enough to catch up to the 87 of Stellar. But if I was Maconi, I wouldn't be celebrating just yet. We still got about 7 minutes left. I don't think the 5 is going to give that spot away all too easy.
I've been around racing way too long. You do not tease the gods. They will come down and squish you with their thumb, as it looks like the 03 has a huge moment of understeer through there. Really going to give another opportunity to the 5. Let's see if he takes advantage. He kind of backs out of it. Both of these cars have been really struggling on front lockup on these tight hairpins. He's going to focus on trying to get the power down and see what the next opportunity is going to be.
And a really good job there by Maconi to drive the defensive line, heading into the hairpin as well. Really not giving the 5 of Panetto anywhere to go, even though he had a little bit of a run, like you said there, Joey, through the sweeping turn back to the start-finish line. Going to be about 6 3/4 minutes left here in our racing action. So you mentioned that works out to be roughly 5 to 6, maybe even 7 laps here around the virtual Tsukuba circuit before things are all said and done there. A big moment there from Brandon Panetto. He got loose coming out of turn 1 there, and that's really going to set him back with this battle for Maconi for a little bit. This is still the closest battle you have on your racetrack, Joey, but if you're the 5 machine there, you got to get settled down. You had a little bit of a moment there, but you are faster. You just got to keep it going through the long run.
You're right, as we hop on board with the 18 of Aaron Raymond, our second closest battle on the racetrack. He is battling the 35 of Bunkari here for what looks like the 4th position on the racetrack, as he tries to get his nose down the inside, gives a little bit of a bump there at apex, tries to get on the throttle, and it's so important not to get wheel spin as they get that drag race down. You want to stay in touch to potentially get an opportunity to get the nose down here into turn 9.
And I know this is completely off topic, Joey, and I apologize, but is Pancari driving a Peugeot?
You know, if I was to look at that, it kind of looks like an e-NASCAR. I'm not sure what's going on up front, but yeah, that certainly looks like a Peugeot badge on the back. It kind of looks a little WTCR-ish up front, huh?
I know. It kind of stood out to me there while we were watching with the onboard shot there with Raymond. We had the shot of the back bumper there of Picari in the 35, and I was like, wait a minute, that's a Peugeot logo. So anyways, back to the action on the racetrack. Raymond was able to get the pass done on Pancari, and he's going to try to see if he can set sail now and catch up to the 5 of Panetto. He's been fast, and we've mentioned it so many times, kind of beating a dead horse at this point. He's been fast but not consistent. But someone who has been fast and consistent is who you're riding on board with right now. That's your leader, the 87, and Daniel Stellar. And again, still laying down 56-second lap times. And remember, he didn't come in and pit last time, Joey. This is the same set of tires he started the race with.
I'm very impressed out of the 87 right now. The driving has been on point tonight, and I think that's why we're seeing him with an 11-plus second lead. You were right. He did a 56.4 last lap. To give everybody a reference time, he qualified at a 56.9, so he's turning laps right now half a second faster than he qualified. To say that he's got the hammer down would be an understatement.
Not only that, he's only 2/10 of a second off from his best lap of the session, a 56.2. The next car that's anywhere closest to that is the car sitting in second, the 03 of Jeff Maconi, and something just happened there to the 18 machine of Aaron Raymond, because we find him on pit road now. And a little bit earlier, Keith Fonseca in the 20 retired from this race right now, so we'll see what happened here. The 18 of Aaron Raymond.
Looks like just a little bit of tire wear. I know that I spoke about these cars being really big and heavy. You just get a lot of weight transfer through that S section, and it looks like a little bit of razzle-dazzle, tank slapper, and into the wall you go.
Yeah, it looks like he had that one actually able to save it a little bit there, Joey. But once he got the grass, that was kind of the end of that for the 18 machine there. And I believe that's the end of his night now. So we have 4 cars on the racetrack here. A little bit over 3 minutes left in your race. Most Stellar, still your leader. Maconi, Panetto, and Pancari, your cars remaining on the track. Remember, we started this race with 12 cars, and we mentioned it from the drop of the hat. The war of attrition has weeded us all the way down now to 4 on the racetrack.
I just want to point out our leader again, the 87, doing a great job. He's turning laps a full second faster than the second place car of Maconi out there. So props to him, as it looks like Pawnetto is trying to reel in Jeffrey Maconi a little bit again. He's not giving up, and I think that as soon as the 03 starts putting those puffs of smoke out, it just gives this 5 that little bit of chance. He says, yeah, come on, come back to me.
Well, and you can see the focus on his face, too. He's really not giving up yet. He's not settling down and just saying, hey, I'll take this top 3. And, I mean, why should he? These one-off races we got to have at Fast Fridays here, there's no overarching points. It's just best finish every single week. And that's kind of the fun here we have at Fast Fridays, Joey, is that you are going for the win every single week. There's not really any points racing here. It's just going out there and trying to be the fastest car you can every single week.
You're right, and I want to go back to you talking about the focus that is on Brandon Pawnetto there. You know, I was watching Maconi and Pawnetto race side by side earlier, and the focus that he's showing, he's just purely out the windshield right now, leaning into corners. He wants to go up there and catch that 03. He's not settling down. He's not just riding there in 3rd place. He is full eyes forward right now. Great job.
And it shows the 2 different styles of racing as well. We saw when they were side by side how emotional Maconi was and how pumped he was to make that pass there on Pawnetto. And nothing against Maconi, but just the pure focus that Pawnetto has when he's in the race car as well. I know I'm very similar, Joey, to maybe like a Jeffrey Maconi. I race with a lot of emotion as well, but it's fun with these onboard views to see the different styles that people take to the racing, not only from their setups, but just their mannerisms and how they conduct themselves behind the wheel as well.
It brings up another great point that sim racing, trust me, we may be on the screen right now, but the emotions are very, very real. What these guys are feeling, fighting each other, racing each other, is very real, and you get to see that, which is pretty cool.
It is very, very cool. And it's one of the most enjoyable aspects, I would say, of iRacing. And shameless plug for iRacing here. If you do want to get your iRacing clear, your virtual racing career started, go ahead and check out iRacing.com. You can get started there. I'm sure you know about iRacing already if you're watching this broadcast, but if you're not and you want to get started here, maybe even join us on Fast Fridays, you can do that by joining to iRacing.com and starting your virtual racing career here today. Someone who's having a very high moment on their virtual racing career right now is Daniel Mosteller, as I believe he's going to be taking the white flag here this time by, if not definitely next time by. So going to be 1 lap to go here, I believe, from the virtual Tsukuba circuit. And really, we mentioned it, just a clinic so far of driving around this 1 2/10 track here in Japan, Joey. And Mosteller just doing a great job so far of trying to just keep it smooth here for this final lap and bring it home to victory lane.
Yeah, if I could give one piece of advice right now is don't change anything. You know, just get through this lap. Don't change what you've done because you've been on rails all night as he goes through the final hairpin. Not a puff of smoke. I saw a little bit of lock up the hairpin before, but nothing in comparison to what we've seen out of the other cars as he rockets down the back straightaway through turn 9 for the final time.
And it's been just a smooth drive so far from the 87 machine of Daniel Mosteller. He'll drive off the final corner here. A little bit of a wiggle that time, but that might have been a celebratory wiggle as he crosses the line. Barring the flag man will give him the checkered flag, and Daniel Mosteller will be your winner here from the virtual Tsukuba circuit. Jeff Maconi here going to come across the line in 2nd, with Pawnetto coming across in 3rd, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Brent Picari be your final finisher on the racetrack here. And Aaron Raymond, of course, on pit road, but just kind of what we expected here from the Tsukuba circuit tonight, a war of attrition, Joey. A lot of these drivers, not able to make it through the full race, and that's nothing against these drivers. It's just a testament to the unique setup we have here at Tsukuba tonight with the Next Gens and how difficult of a challenge it was.
It is very difficult anytime you put 800 plus horsepower on a little itty bitty racetrack and then you put a whole bunch of them on there together and say, hey guys, you know what? Let's see who crosses the line first. And I think we saw some great racing tonight, a little bit of action through the middle. And I'm really happy with what we saw. As we saw, the 87 Mosteller really controlled tonight's race, had a bunch of challengers there through the 18, the 5, the 03, but ultimately the night belonged to the 87.
Yeah, the 87 of Daniel Mosteller, you see our full results on the screen for you now. He's your winner out of New England tonight for round 2 of Fast Fridays, presented by Maconi Setup Shop here from the virtual Tsukuba circuit. Jeffrey Maconi, your fearless leader, comes across in your second podium position, 16 seconds behind your leader, Brandon Pawnetto, in the 5 machine out of New York. You know he loves the Mets, coming home in your final podium position. Brent Pancari, your final finisher on the racetrack here tonight out of Canada. He'll come home in 4th position. And then in your first car, 5 laps down, Aaron Raymond. A struggle for him tonight, had so much speed, just wasn't able to get it all the way done. Fonseca, Peters, Forbes, Tremblay, and Souza round out your top 10. And then we had 2 more finishers finishing farther than 38 laps down, as Eric Lombard and Lothian and the rest of your drivers that you see on your screen did not start tonight. Ignore the 81 of Ian Fisher. I don't know who that guy is. I don't know who would just join a race like that and not race the rest of it. But we'll have a little bit of a podium interview here in a second here. Joey, we're going to have, it looks like we've got Brent Pancari, which maybe we'll take a 4th place interview, but it looks like we have our winners here too. We'll give him a few more seconds.
Yeah, I know that, looks like we've got a few. Also looks like we'll probably have Jeff Maconi joining us. I know that he finished 2nd place, but know that the 87 looks like is joining us here, Ian.
Yes, our winner tonight from the virtual Tsukuba circuit, Daniel Mosteller. What a drive from you here tonight. It seems like once you got out in the clean air and into the lead, it was just your race to lose. What did you see from your perspective, and what made you so dominant here at Tsukuba?
The setup was a blast to drive. It was a lot of fun. Once I got in the clean air, clean air is so important in these things. And once I got it, I was able to get into a rhythm. Yellow never threw me off. I decided to stay out to keep that clean air, that track position, and just cruised.
You kind of almost read my mind there with my second question. I was going to ask what kind of went into the factoring of the decision there to not take tires at our caution flag. You mentioned the clean air. Was there anything else that went into that decision, or did you just want to stay up front when you had it?
Along with wanting to stay up front, the tires really don't wear in this in the next gen car, so that also factored into my decision. And with cold tires, it's pretty tricky to drive, and I wanted to save myself really that hassle. I just wanted to just keep it under myself, and I did a good job with that, I think.
Well, we go to USA Speedway next week. You go back to oval racing here on Fast Fridays. Kind of a 2-part question here for you, Daniel. Number 1, will we see you next week at USA Speedway? And then number 2, just, your driving preference in general. Do you like these road courses more, or do you look forward more to the ovals?
No, I should be there. And to answer your second question, I really don't have a preference. Kind of like the oval racing more. Road really isn't my strong suit, but really in these next gen cars, I guess you could say it's that way. But short tracks, I also love them. So I'll probably be here next week to give it a try.
Well, next week is a short track at USA Speedway, but good enough tonight to bring you home P1 tonight. Anybody you want to give a shout out to helps you get it done out there on the racetrack?
I want to thank the setup builders. This setup was a blast to drive. I want to thank Jeff for putting on the race. I want to thank you guys for broadcasting. I can't wait to listen back on it. Tyler Tinsley, he makes my paints. I think I got to ask him to add on a logo. That's the one thing I forgot to do before this race. So I got to go stick a good old Maconi logo on the car. But Maconi, Maconi Setup Shop, they did a good job, welcoming me in over the past month, and I've had a blast with them, and I can't wait to continue more with this.
That was Daniel Mosteller, your first place P1 winner here tonight from Tsukuba Circuit. And Daniel, appreciate you taking some time to come talk to us. And now looks like, Joey, you're standing by here with not only our fearless leader, but our second place finisher, Jeff Maconi.
Yeah, looks like we got the 03 joining us in the booth tonight. You were in the wars tonight all through the race. Before the yellow, after the yellow, really with the 5 of the Pawnetto, watching you side by side. What did you think of the racing tonight?
Man, that was some of the most fun I've had in the next gen cars anywhere. I love stock cars at road courses. I love the next gens, but man, that racing was some of the best with Brandon there. I have not driven a car that hard in a long time. I was really legging it to get around him and then maintain it, because that battle felt like it was going on forever. And then I'm like, okay, I cleared him. I got around, and I checked the time left in the race, and it was still like 8 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to hold on to it for 8 minutes? So I was wheeling. The best I ran in practice was like a 58.1. And then in the race, I ran a 56.8. So I was legging that car tonight, but it was a lot of fun. And I got to, for the ones that made it to the end on that very tough car track combo, thank you, and thank you for the amazing racing.
Well, we were watching that battle between you and the 5. Like you were saying, it seemed to go on forever. What was it that finally gave you that advantage and you were able to stretch from the 5 maybe a second or so by the end? What was it that got you that little advantage?
I think so. Usually, I have a crew chief or a spotter that's able to like calm me down and get me in my zone and keep a level head. And I think I finally, after so long battling, I was fighting the car, and I don't know if the camera was on, but I was just wheeling the heck out of it. And I finally sort of got into my own head and said, "Okay, calm down, just hit your marks, and you will get around him." And then 2 laps later, I was not only there but around, and then Aaron was really fast, but with this setup, if you overdrive it a hair, if you put it in too hard in the corner, you will bite. You will be bitten, I should say. So finding that balance and maintaining it without overdriving was pretty difficult. There were a lot of times where I locked up the wheels and was right at the edge there of going too hard.
Ryan did a great job capturing that battle. So we saw the fist pump as he went by the 5.
Really?
It was all captured on stream there, Jeff. You'll have to go back and watch it. And we got to give you the same opportunity as everybody else. Who would you like to say hi to? Is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Well, I got to thank everyone. I got my seatbelts on still. That's how tired I was. I didn't even take my seatbelts off. But everyone that makes this playing pretend race cars for a living possible, I can't thank them enough. The whole team at Maconi Setup Shop, you guys over here at Maconi Entertainment, it's amazing what this network has been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. I don't have it on here, but Maconi Competizone is our newest, and we're doing a lot of event organization and stuff like that. So that's going to be some very cool projects coming up in the near future. We got the Sim Racer movie, which will be on streaming platforms soon. WSMN Broadcasting, 95.3 FM, and you can listen in at WSMN.live. We also have Bruzy Racewear, of course, who make all this awesome merch and the boots and the gloves and everything else that make this possible. And then Ron the Snack Guy, I don't have him on me, but he sent me a whole big box of snacks. So I've got like, I think it's the couch box or the lounge box, something like that is the name of it. And it's just so good. They've got like root beer barrels and popcorn and caramel and chocolate and beef jerky, toffee, macaroons, everything. So thank you to him for sending that over to me and for everything that he does. It's crazy that I get to do this for a living, and I love every second of it. So thank you to everyone that tuned in and watched and raced tonight. And next week we're going to USA in the Next Gens, which will be a ton of fun. I love that track in the Next Gens. I think will be amazing. So we'll see you all next week. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, Jeff. Well, I love these Fast Fridays that you've been putting on. It's a great product out here right now, so keep up with it. I know that everybody participating is loving it. And Ian, I think you have caught up with our final podium position finisher, Brandon Ponetto.
And Brandon, I will keep this short because we could see with your cockpit view, of course, you are a Mets fan, and that game just started right now. And I hate to make the pun here, but I got to go with it. So you see how the Max stuff on. I saw the Max Scherzer intensity from you there with that battle with Jeff Maconi. But what did you see out of your cockpit there? And what do you need just a little extra speed to get past him?
Yeah, I think mostly it was mostly lockup. I mean, throughout my entire session of practicing, I mean, I did a couple hours of practice yesterday before well, I did a couple hours yesterday, and then I joined the session today. I was mostly just fighting, just wheel lock up, just trying to apply the right amount of brake. That way you can be able to actually, make the corner easily without locking up the front tires and killing your momentum on coming out of those hairpins. I mean, those turns in particular were pretty challenging. But yeah, I mean, I when I was doing the practice, I was running like 59-second lap times, like literally, like this is my first time ever doing it, and then literally today I gained like about 2 seconds. So you know what, I'm definitely proud of myself for how much I gained. I actually really wasn't intending on doing this race at first, but you know what? I've got nothing to lose. I've got, like I said, I've got a couple of good friends in here, that I've actually raced before. But yeah, had a really really good time. It was a really fun battle there with Maconi. I'm glad. I'm glad Bauer actually got to capture most of that battle. I'm sure that was pretty entertaining for everybody. I was just lacking, a little bit of a little bit of grip. I mean, I once the tires I knew were going to kick in, I actually thought we were going to get to Maconi again. But both me and him, we were basically, we were both pretty even. While Demos, he was just on another level. I mean, obviously got to give Demos his props. I mean, he is just an absolutely amazing iRacer. He's part of Enter9 America. Obviously, I root for him every time whenever IDK player does his streams. It was a pretty fun battle. I had, like I said, I had a really good time, and that's pretty fun.
Well, that is pretty impressive, though. You say coming out for your first time racing here and then cutting off 2 seconds in a day and then finishing P3 here, even in a war of attrition kind of race. So we appreciate you taking some time, Brandon, out of your day to come talk to us. And I'll pull for you tonight, at least. Go Mets.
Thank you. We should have gotten at least one game in Atlanta, but you know what? It is. They can just chirp all they want, but you know what? Things can totally change in the playoffs. So, yeah.
Well, and here's hoping for the best for you, Brandon. Appreciate you taking some time and talking for us, and good luck for the rest of these events if you do happen to show out for any of them. And that was Brandon Ponetto, but we're going to actually take one more interview here today, Joey, and we're going to give it to Brent Pancari because I'm not to take too much of your wind out of your sails here, Joey, but I will say just finishing this race was an achievement in itself tonight.
Yes, you're right. Brett in the number 35. He was one of the keys to the strategy of the race, which was keep all 4 wheels on the racetrack, and you brought it home 4th place on the lead lap. Did you enjoy the racing out there tonight?
Well, even though I was absolutely nowhere on pace, I enjoyed the race for the most part. But like I said, I just had 0 pace at all. Even though I like running at Tsukuba, I totally butchered the name. I know I did. It basically I mostly used this session as more of a test session for my new HP Reverb VR headset that Mr. Maconi actually recommended to me. So that's what I mostly use this session for.
Yeah, well, it was an exciting race, and I do want to say thank you for joining us. Hopefully, we'll see you in future Fast Fridays. Is there anybody that you would like to give a shout out to, say thank you to, say hi to?
Well, first, thanks, Jeff Maconi at Maconi Setup Shop for putting the Fast Fridays on. I know it was put on like a year or so ago, but I didn't have my paint schemes or anything like that on my next gen cars yet, so that's why I held off on it. And also, I ran with him in the summer shootout series from Jim Beaver Esports as well. So, but he's done a ton of work, like just the Sabs, now this Maconi Entertainment deal. Of course, shout out to you guys at Maconi Entertainment for doing the broadcasting. But I also have to thank Corey Rutherford at CJR GraphX for basically creating the only Peugeot next gen Cup car and the Princess Daisy colors as well. He did an incredible job on the paints. But that's mostly going to be it. I don't think I'll be able to run next week at USA, but maybe if there's a track that'll interest me in the future for these events, I'll probably be returning.
We noticed the Peugeot paint scheme during the broadcast, so make sure to go back and watch that stream, and got some great airtime of that one-of-a-kind Peugeot stock car. So thank you for being a part of the Fast Fridays, Brett, and we hope to see you there in the future. And I think that's really going to do it here from the virtual Tsukuba circuit here tonight, Ian. I know that it was some quality racing out there, trying to keep these cars live on the racetrack. And ultimately, it was the number 87 tonight dominating and taking home the win.
Well, yeah, you kind of mentioned it, and we talked to him a little bit in his interview. As soon as he got out in clean air, he mentioned how big of a deal it was. And I was kind of surprised on his comments there on tire wear, how he said tire wear wasn't really a big deal to him at all. It was just kind of staying out front there. You and I had that large conversation about how important tires were going to be, how important possibly that pit stop at our competition caution was going to be. But really our leader said that wasn't any of his thinking at all. It was just go out there, run fast laps, and stay out there. And track position always is important in any race, but we didn't expect it to be that important tonight. I'm excited for next week to go to USA International Speedway. That's going to be really, really exciting. Some long speedways, some high bank turns, kind of Martinsville, but then just throw some more banking in the turns. So any final thoughts from you, Joey, at least from Tsukuba, or next week going into USA?
I'm really happy with these Fast Fridays so far. I think we've had great attendance. They're growing in popularity, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds here.
Yeah, well, on behalf of my colleague here, Joey Attenbury, and Ryan Bauer, the production booth, and everybody here at Maconi Entertainment, Maconi Setup Shop, we want to congratulate again our winner, Daniel Mosteller, here on his win tonight from the virtual Tsukuba circuit, and hope you'll join us in 1 week's time from the virtual USA International Speedway. And I would like to say goodnight from all of us here at Maconi Entertainment. We hope you have a great evening, and thank you for tuning in to our broadcast.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flag Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Maconi Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Maconi Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to MaconiSetupShop.com and learn why Maconi Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victory.